Hello guys and welcome back to this channel. So the 714 method was quite profitable today, right? I made over 11,000 from this simple strategy, right? That was how simple the strategy was. So obviously don't actually mind me entering into the trade around here. Don't mind this entry right here. Trust me, this trade was very dangerous, right? Why was it dangerous? Now I want you to listen to this. It's not bite. I'm just giving faith to the 714 method, and it's not worth it, right? It's not worth it. So when this candle closes, that's it. That was me telling my students that the 714 method today is not going to be worth trading the 714 method, right? Why was I saying that? So obviously let's ignore this entry for the moment and look at the trend, right? So when you look at the trend, you realize that we're still in an uptrend, a very nice uptrend. As you can see, we're still making higher highs and what's higher lows, right? So there's a likelihood that this was just a pullback before price will actually take out this last high right here. So yeah, we were still in an uptrend. Nothing was quite confusing, right? Very simple. But when you look at it, you realize that we actually had a little change of character right here, meaning price was pushing all the way down, right? The reason why this was scary was because of this push right here. If you had been in this trade, or if you are looking at this chart from here all the way down to this range, you know that it was scary, right? Very scary, because price was just pushing down. It was very fast. So because of that, I was quite not convinced as to entering into the trade, right? I know we actually trust the 714 method and it's a good strategy, right? So definitely we have to get a trade. So how were we going to enter into a trade based on the 714 method? So when you look at it, we're in a downtrend during the 714 method, a very massive one, right? So our expectations were that price will push all the way up. Very easy. That's what the strategy is. If you are in a downtrend within this zone, our expectation is that price is going to push all the way up after the zone, right? Now, because we know that, what do we use to enter into the trade? I've told you guys we use three simple things: fair value gap, order block, and support and resistance, right? So when you look at this trade, were we having any of those three? Yes, of course, we're having fair value gaps right here. This was the first fair value gap and the second fair value gap right here, right? Now, you are probably wondering why I did not enter into a trade based on this fair value gap and I actually got into the trade on this second fair value gap, right? Now, this is a very simple thing. I know a lot of you guys already know it, right? When you have a trend like this is a whole movement and there are multiple fair value gaps on this trend. Let's say this is what the first fair value gap right here, and this right here is the second fair value gap. You have to understand something. This fair value gap below here is always powerful than the fair value gap above here, right? So there's a likelihood that price will push into this before actually pushing all the way up, meaning it's just going to push through this fair value gap right here. Very easy and very simple, right? But that wasn't the only thing that actually convinces me that the second fair value gap is going to be the one that will be entering into the trade on, right? But what actually convinced me was very simple. When you look at the fair value gap, you realize that it wasn't just any normal fair value gap. It actually took out this high right here, right? It was a very nice fair value gap that took out this high right here. Meaning, if this trend actually pushes all the way down, it's not just going to pull liquidity from this fair value gap, it's also going to find support right here. So obviously those are two things in one, right? Killing two birds with one stone, meaning when price actually pushes all the way down, it gets the liquidity it needs, or it gets the fuel that it needs to push all the way up, and it also finds a support to rest, right? So obviously we'll be looking forward to entering into our trade based on this second fair value gap, right? Now, how do we enter into the trade? So if you look at the trade very well, you realize that when price pushes all the way down, we entered after the rejection. When we are having a rejection from that fair value gap, that's when we got into the trade. Very simple. And the next thing we did was to find our TP levels. As you can see, I kept my first TP at this low right here, inside this bearish fair value gap. Why did I put it there? Now, obviously, when you look closely, you realize that there was a little bit of consolidation around that area. That was a build up, right? So I wasn't really convinced that the 714 method will actually push all the way up through and take out this last high right here. I wasn't really convinced about that. So what I needed was for the 714 method to actually take out our first TP so that we'll be in profit and we can just put our second TP at what break even, right? That's how simple it was. Now, when the first TP actually got hit, what came into my mind was very, very simple. I just realized that we had a change of character right here, meaning price was pushing all the way up. We've moved from a downtrend to an uptrend, right? Market structure has shifted. So with that, I'm now thinking that yes, my final TP is going to hit, and all I need was just to wait. That's how simple it was. All I need was just to wait and see my second TP getting hit, only for price to push all the way up to my second TP and start dancing around it. You can obviously see that we had this massive rejections right there, right? Price came to it and was just dancing around it, and I was like, no, I don't have to sit down for price to actually do this around my second TP. No, I can just get out because I'm already close to my second TP enough. I can get out, right? So I got out of the trade, and that was it. Now, mind you, this trade ended up pushing all the way up and breaking through this last high right here. But yeah, I was already out of the trade. Even if it were still going to push up, I wouldn't still be in that trade, right? Because I was already going to get out. It was only 2 trades that I got in, right? Very, very easy. A very, very easy trade. Today was actually simple, but just scary because if you are going to enter into the trade, you would have been worried that it might hit your stop loss, right? Now, take a good look at these three things: support and resistance, fair value gap, and an order block. You might be wondering why we use these three things as our windows of opportunities to enter into trades based on this strategy, right? Well, it's very, very simple. That's because these three things are the fundamentals of trading. Why am I saying the fundamentals of trading? Let's look at order blocks. Order blocks serves as the building point of a whole trend. You understand that? It's like the concrete, the foundation, the whole startup of a whole trend. Without order blocks, there can't be a trend change. So that's why order blocks are very, very important to us. When you look at fair value gaps serves as a filling point for price to actually push all the way back into, pull more liquidity and start pushing all the way upright. So because you know this, you know of course that there are a lot of orders at that place. So when price eventually pushes all the way back into that range, you know what? You hop in, join the others that were already there, and all of you guys will push all the way upright. But because you know for sure that fair value gaps, when price pushes all the way back into them, they fuel up and pushes all the way through. You are waiting for price to push all the way back into it. When it gets in, you enter into your trade and you are pushing all the way through. Now, support and resistance are more or less like a resting point for price. Imagine you walking on the road, right? You are tired. What do? You actually try your best and sit down just to rest. During the resting period, you actually think that, should I continue moving to this point A, or should I just turn around and push all the way back, right? That is the resting point of price. So when price gets to support and resistance, it actually rests, right? Just to choose the direction it wants to push through. Either price will likely continue its same way, which is if we are in an uptrend and we just continue going in an uptrend, or will price actually reverse, right? Meaning it's tired, it just wants to turn around and go back home. Simple as that. That is the use of what? Support and resistance. So when price gets to this support and resistance, you are looking for either a sell or a buy. You see how powerful those three things are? That is why they are the foundation of what? Trading. We know for sure that price doesn't move without a reason. If price is going to push all the way up, there has to be a reason why price is pushing all the way up. And these are the three reasons. So that's why we use this trade thing. Easy as that. Now, if you want to learn this strategy, you can check this video on your left. And if you want to actually set up this strategy, you can check this video on your right. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching.